Hello, everybody. John Steelcliffe here from GAI Insights with the Gen AI news briefing, rating the top news in the Gen AI world in terms of essential, important, or optional to save you time, and we hope bring you insights. Today we have Luda and Paul and Adam and Ankash leading the way here. We have lots going on. We have everything from fantastic new things from Microsoft down through some very interesting research by Anthropic that talks about the nature of explainability in the context of these new models. So let's get on it. Akash, take us through the first article, please.
Thanks, John. So the first one that we have for today is from Anthropic, and as John mentioned, they have published some new research around mapping the mind of a large language model, so they are able to understand what goes on when LLM generates a response.
Awesome. Luda, what do you think of this one?
This is an interesting research. We created a big thing, very technical inside, very difficult to create, and then we try to understand what's happening inside, right? So this is important for making these models safe. I was between optional and important because it's still researchy, it's still beginning. What they're doing is using the method of dictionary learning from NLP to try to understand what's happening in the model, and so trying to get the concepts together. They tried it on like a little dictionary on a concept. They tried it on a very small model, and this is an effort of making it scale. So good effort, very important, but I don't know what our leaders would do with it yet. So I put it as optional to note in our write-up that this is a great development that will produce results eventually.
Yeah, others? Paul?
I'd option as well. I mean, we've talked a lot about the developing science of LLMs, but I think this is optional for the inline AI leader.
Yeah, I started as important, but I'm at optional as well. It's such a vital area. And Akash, if you could just scroll down a little bit in the article, there's some interesting things in here about go down. If you could go down to some of the places where it shows how it names the interim results. I thought it's fascinating. I mean, they're inspired by some of the work in neurology about here they're looking at basically interim results and then mapping it to this what they call this dictionary feature. Fascinating. I mean, a whole vector that I never expected in terms of the ability to increase explainability. Not there yet, but I think if they can master this, boy, it's going to be a huge advance.
Yeah.
Anything else important to say here before we go on? It's an option.
I forgot to mention something. At the end of the article, John, they talk about giving more priority to a particular feature. And that is very important. And then like asking the model to do proximity or various other concepts around that feature. So that is also very important research that they have started on some time ago, but that changes how the model responds and how it becomes sort of almost obsessed with that feature. And that's good because then we can see what's happening related to that feature and avoid hallucinations and the like. So again, very important research, but not there yet.
Interesting. We have somebody in the audience saying that it should be important because of helping AI leaders understand how these models work. Yeah, okay. I was on the fence. Let's give it an important. Remember, important is still an optional read, not an essential read. All right, we're going to give this an important. Important it is. Ankash, next, please.
Okay, so next is more of a fundraising news, but it was important for me because they have raised $1 billion and it is a data labeling startup, Scale AI. So data labeling is really important in the LLM context.
To be 30 and a billionaire. Gotta love the guy who started this company. Hey, Paul, what do you think?
Yeah, it's certainly an important company, important area, but optional for the leader. I think it's that leaders should focus on market traction and not what investors think is important. We've seen many investors be wrong. But certainly great news for Stability AI.
Absolutely. Adam, any thoughts there?
Adam is driving, so he
Oh, okay. So we lost him. All right. Luda, anything? I'm going to go for a quick optional here.
I think optional, yeah.
Quick optional. All right. We got vital area, important company, fundraising news is not essential.
Well,
All right.
and John, before we go there, we should now note that Tim started upper pocket, lower pocket optional, and now we have a quick optional.
Awesome. The dimensions of optional. How many? Count the ways. Okay. Take us to Takeo. Ankash.
Yes. So the next one is Teco. So it's a company which is providing a new way to reference real knowledge. So basically, they are partnering with Perplexity, and just like you can ask LLMs for a chat-based response, Teco can provide you uh, visual responses as well in the form of charts and stuff. So they are calling this knowledge cards.
Yeah, I thought this was, I mean, just amazing in terms of its ability to both validate the data that it's using as well as display it in a powerful way. This is such I actually rated this as essential in terms of a new addition when thinking about the kind of work that so many knowledge workers do in terms of comparing data, looking at trends, making it a visual display. I mean, I just thought it was super powerful. Had the right things in terms of you know capability to make sure it wasn't hallucinating, making mistakes. And so, if it works as promised, I graded this as essential. But I was a little bit on the fence because I generally don't like doing that without some kind of end user validation. But what do you folks think?
I think it is an important capability. I'm not sure I will go to essential yet until we validate it. But Perplexity is becoming to be the new search, right? And making it visual in its showing results in a visual manner, that will actually put it on steroids, I think, even more. So in that sense, it's an important thing for the leader to know, because this type of capability can be introduced into many features within the enterprise. So from that perspective, it's essential news, and it's not a difficult article to read. I'm interested in Paul's opinion.
Well, you're like the famous I forget which president it was. I think it might have been Roosevelt, who said, "Give me a one-handed economist," because the economist would tell him on the one hand and the other. I need a one-handed Luda.
No, I have floated up to essential, John. I mean, I think the major trend is that we're moving from multimodal, not just text in, text out. We're moving to audio in and visual out. And when you think of the implications of that for customer service reps in 2025 and multilingual field service, I think it's profound. Having a tablet and talking to a tablet and getting a visual, talking to a tablet in Portuguese and getting a visual out of how to fix the John Deere tractor is within the realm of possibility in 18 months, already June 1st. So, some of these large companies need to start their 2025 planning now. So I actually had it as essential.
All right.
John, Adam is on. Maybe he has an opinion as well on this.
I haven't.
Oh, all right. Adam has had a chance to look at. All right, we're going to go essential. All right, living large. Next.
So next one is from IBM. So IBM has unveiled some new product innovations and also an ecosystem of partners to drive enterprise AI at scale.
All right. Let me see. Who do I have on this one? I think I'm back to Luda on this. Yes, Luda? Yes.
Yes.
Luda, what do you think of Big Blue here? Back from the dead?
I actually was surprised and pleased with this announcement. IBM is being very comprehensive in putting a lot of things together in this, what I would call a platform for enterprise AI. So it's certainly important for people on the IBM platform and using it. So I would probably rate it as important because IBM has a tremendous installed base, and this is integrating into watsonx with open source. It's putting a lot of agents and including a lot of other partners in there. So it's a very comprehensive effort. So important in my book.
Important from Luda. Paul, what do you think? You've been belly to belly with these CIOs and the enterprise, pounding
Yeah.
away, telling them stuff.
Well, I think we want to first note that we had John, your riff on IBM a few days ago. So I'm going to give them a little more credit. I think their stocks at the all-time high in the 15, 20 years. I think if we think of the categories, use case, technology, and vendors, this is important in the vendor category. This is a step forward. And if you're an AI leader and have IBM, they're an aspirant right now, but they're an aspirant vendor that's making some progress in the AI space, and you may want to consider them if you've got a good relationship with them.
Yeah, for me, and remember, I was bragging on IBM under Ginny Rometty. The current leadership is doing a great job. I wish I bought their stock. The fantastic thing here, I think, is there are two vital things in this article. One was, and I'm rating it important. One is their comprehensive support of the open environment in conjunction with Red Hat, which people know is a really important open source leader. And I think IBM is playing that super smart, and also really worrying about responsible AI in the context of those open models. And I think that is the right combo to sell to the enterprise if you're going to, and then you have folks like Red Hat who actually know how to support open models to the enterprise, right? So I think that combination, support, security, open, is a vital thing, because it's one thing to grab an open model off Hugging Face and do it yourself. It's another thing to do it in the context of an IBM relationship.
And John, if you think about the King Kong versus Godzilla, the Meta versus IBM, and the open source camp versus the closed camp, this is another big player in the open source side.
Absolutely. And Meta, other than selling to the marketing department, doesn't know anything about selling to the enterprise. IBM does. So, IBM as a partner in that, I think, makes a ton of sense. The other thing I thought was really cool was you can see them really going heavy on AI for traditional IT ops as well as ML and AI ops. And I think that's going to be a huge part of the scaling thing here. ML ops, AI ops is complicated. Having a partner like IBM that can help you automate that, create the dashboards, not drive yourself crazy. I was on the border of essential here just because for two reasons. One, it's IBM getting its act together in this context. Two, they, I think, are going to be the giant pillar, at least in the West. I can't speak to China, but other than China, is the, I think, bellwether or the big supporter, the big gorilla that can actually help open source continue to have, open models have more market share. Akash, Adam's asking you to scroll down a little bit in terms of partnerships that they have.
Yeah, I think I was going to go the same way, John, but maybe up actually to the summary, because that lists the vendors. The third bullet or fourth bullet lists the vendors they've put partnerships together with: AWS, Adobe, Meta, Microsoft, Mistral, Palo Alto Networks, SAP, Salesforce, and SCADA. So Zdaya. So it's very impressive, and essentially you have a smorgasbord of solutions that you can put together. This is very good. Yeah.
Although I'll be on the other side with partnerships, Luna. I see all the Barney stuff there. We love you, you love us. Let's do a press release. I mean, there's not customers here, but I'm important. I did want to note, John, Ashish is advocating for important as well from Microsoft.
Absolutely, and I think you put it correctly. It's where it's optionality for the CIOs, and they're right in the thick of that. All right, so it's important on its way to essential after we see some user response. Okay, next, Akash.
Okay, so next one comes from MIT Tech Review, and it talks about how criminals are using AI.
All right, Paul, what do we got here?
I'm actually driving over to the MIT MIT Tech Review conference today, so it's kind of interesting. This came up. I think this is essential. I mean, John, as you know, we're talking a lot of companies here, and companies are talking about a leading strategy, a fast follower, a slow follower, a no follower. And I think regardless where you are on that, your understanding of Gen AI security is orthogonal to that. You need to understand your IP risk and security risk. And I had a conversation 2 days ago with a security expert, and we talked a few months ago about the $24 million that was wired from a scam in Hong Kong using Gen AI. He told me 3 other cases similar in nature that haven't been in the press because companies want to keep this down. So this is flying under the radar screens, in my view, for CISOs and board members, and it needs to be essential.
All right, we got an essential, Luda.
I agree. It's a good well-written article. It's not very long. It provides the write-up about the 5-way where you are vulnerable. We at my prior company DSM, we had the phishing and all the safeguards, but we struggled. People couldn't pass the tests, so periodically they will send out a test where we will recognize whether this is a phishing attempt, and not many of us pass the test. So that means that even though you are aware as an executive, you're still vulnerable, very much vulnerable. So it is critically important to be on the guard, test the executives, test the employees on recognizing these attacks. This is important.
And Luda, and your example there was traditional phishing security testing, where it's a link to something. This is going a whole nother level. And the other thing I thought was really interesting, and I haven't heard the term, but I like the term, jailbreak as a service. So this notion that multiple companies are coming up with jailbreak as a service is just going to really make a nice easy ramp for the criminals. And I'm starting to wonder, if companies are not understanding this, it might be underinvested by 25% next year for the security issues on this, because there's real downside tools coming.
I'll put in my vote for important news. That's the criteria, something you want to add to your weekend reading list, right?
Yes.
If a CTO or a CIO doesn't get to this today, they're going to be all right. This is something about their security posture and how they're going to address these needs. They want to make sure they read it, but if they don't know it before Sunday, they're going to be fine. I wouldn't consider it essential, but absolutely, it's important that they make the time to understand this.
All right, let's go for important. I was on the fence. Adam, you took me there. Important it is. Next.
Okay, so next is the big one. So Microsoft Build is going on, and there are a lot of announcements from Microsoft. So the initial one being that Microsoft is providing a host of AI agents for us to work with. Then the 5.3 small language model, which was released earlier, there's a new version of that model called 5.3 Vision. So Microsoft is going multimodal as well. Then Microsoft Edge can translate your YouTube videos while you're watching them, and a whole lot of very interesting and important announcements.
Yeah, I put this to myself. I rated this thing as essential. I hate doing, product announcements as essential, but here we have the world's largest provider talking about their new stuff. So I think, I think the AI leader needs to know about this stuff, and just their ability to really take. I think there's a couple of interesting things here. One is, how they're putting, the Git integration into Microsoft. File Explorer, I don't know how much, I'm not a developer, so I don't know how much incremental kick that gives you, but I think that the notion of having more of the development capabilities, native and local, it's going to be a big thing, because I think we're going to see a wave of end user developer activity with these models, and so I think citizen programmer is going to be a big deal. I think it's kind of cool that, you've got the ability to translate in real time, that they're going very much at the edge. So anyway, I rated this as essential, but what do you folks think?
I was a little less enthusiastic. This is something to be expected, and it's a laundry list. It sounds like they wanted to go broader but not deeper and just say, hey, we're in AI, in all the features over here. But I think it is important because of installed base, because Microsoft is a leader. So I certainly would vote for important, but not yet essential.
Yes,
Because, I don't think anybody would die if they don't read it today.
I love the fact too that Satya Nadella wears, your basic developer hoodie and whatever. He's fashion relevant to the audience. What do you think, Adam? Where you land on this thing?
Yeah, I probably landed on important as well. I think there's more to come. A lot of things they announced are later this year, sort of announcements. Probably the ones that stood out to me was the Copilot AI agents, right? So you'll actually be able to have an AI that actively monitors your emails and those sorts of things. And the other thing to call out was the Phi 3, which they're calling small language models. So to have something that has multimodal capabilities, but that can run on your phone, right, is really an indication about the strength of them really pushing this technology to the edge. But I think I'm with Luda. It's kind of a wide net and a laundry list of things. I would probably rate it more as important than essential.
Okay.
Especially given the big announcement we did with them of essential just leading into this the other day.
Again, this is to be expected, right? Did we expect from Microsoft to introduce a capability to run AI on locally?
Yeah.
Yes, right? Did we expect some multimodal? Yes. Did we expect? It's an expectation already that they are meeting, not exceeding.
Yes.
So if they put something like the expectation has been set, and it's not essential in that regard for me, but that's why it's important in my book.
All right, Michael Novak's advocating essential.
Paul, what do you?
Ashish notes that the 5.3 silica model runs locally, which is pretty cool. I'm also reminded that whoever the naming people are from pharmaceuticals should come over and name these models, because these models are ridiculous. I want something that's like Ozempic, whatever.
But the one thing I did want to note, though, that if I read it correctly, the Qualcomm chips are being used and not Intel. So
Exactly.
Intel's not your father's Buick. I think it's increasingly become not your grandfather's Buick. I mean, it is so far in the caboose right now. And I think it's pretty stunning that Qualcomm, is part of this announcements. And I think Intel's got a huge amount of work to get caught up. Maybe they got some plans in the oven, but the chip wars are on, along with the cloud wars.
Yes, absolutely. All right. So let's go ahead and land this on important. And Ankash, how are we doing? We have. All right. So today we have one essential, which is TACO, new way to reference real knowledge. A number of important things, only really one optional in terms of the, Scale AI and their data labeling, their fundraising. But we've got, new mapping, interpretation, very important trend. Security, incredibly important trend to watch. Microsoft coming out with yet more stuff. We've given essential stuff for some of their other things. Michael Novak notes the amazing is now being mundane. Absolutely, Michael. We're always surfing the edge of capability. And then I'm feeling bullish about IBM under the new leadership as a harbinger of the open world. All right. Anything else? Anything essential to tell our audience here? All right. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen. It's great seeing you all, and look forward to doing the news with you again tomorrow. Bye-bye now from GenAI Insights.